Welcome to the Hope, Health, and Healing podcast. I am Michelle Hannah Fields, and I am your host for episode 35, where I am joined by my friend Luke Cason. Luke shares his story of how he came to faith at a very early age. And then when he entered his preteen years, he allowed peer pressure to influence him, and he found himself in a dark place, living two different lives. God visited him that day through unforeseen circumstances. He was playing soccer and was kicked in the head, which resulted in a very serious brain injury. During his time in the hospital, God visited with Luke, and he realized how important a relationship with him is. That moment changed Luke's life. He is now serving the Lord and is in college, and he shares what his vision for his future looks like, how his faith has carried him through, and how the path that God has him on is one of purpose. Sit back, relax with your favorite cup of coffee or beverage of your choice, and let Luke's story encourage and inspire you today.
So I am joined today by my friend Luke Cason, and I wanted to share a little bit about how we know each other. And I knew you before I knew you. So that's part of your story and why you're here. But I do a scholarship at Harris County High in memory of my grandparents. And I was reviewing the applicants, and this one person really stuck out to me. And we voted on it. Several people on my committee read it, and you were the top choice for that year. And so when I announced it, my friend Sissy said, "Don't you remember praying for him?" And I was like, "Was that him?" So anyway, you'll find out why I was praying for him later. But it's just been a pleasure to know you, Luke, and I just thank the Lord for what He's doing in your life.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. It's such a blessing to be able to have this relationship and be able to build that.
Yeah. So one of the things I like to start with is, where did your journey of faith begin?
So I grew up in a Christian home, grew up going to church, and was saved in kids' church, sort of like your normal generic, kind of come to faith for a Christian home. But yes, ma'am, I grew up in the church with a family that loved the Lord. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was just part of your everyday routine, just learning to serve the Lord and coming to faith. Now, how old were you when you started your faith journey and got saved? How old were you?
So that is kind of where I kind of branched off, so to speak. I was first saved in kids' church when I was 4 years old. They just kind of gave the altar call, and it was just something they said, "If you've never done this," and I was like, "I've never done it." So I just kind of thought it was kind of a check the box kind of thing. Didn't really know all about what was going on or what it really meant, but just kind of thought that it was what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't really until I was 12 years old that I really started to actually seek my personal faith and seek to grow my personal relationship with the Lord. So many years later, but yes, ma'am.
What was that moment that made you realize that you needed to, seek the Lord and to start walking with Him? What was that moment?
So my 7th grade year of middle school, I had once still been going to church for many years. At this point, I had kind of grown up around it, but just still never really knew that it was actually it was a personal faith. Mm-hmm. I really just kind of thought that it was something, growing up in the South, that you just did on Sundays. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I went through my first ever really personal crisis, so to speak, in 7th grade, where I really was combated with the idea of like who I was going to be, so to speak, and the choices that I was going to make. I had kind of strayed from the Lord that year through different groups that I had been involved in, and through that I had been really introduced to a lot of different things like pornography, lust, and all of that. And so that's really started to take a very deep hold on my life for many months of my 7th grade year. And so that kind of led to me just having, so to speak, a very strong facade that I just had to kind of put up in this persona that I had to live up to either my family or to be friends in church and stuff like that. Just because I knew that one of these things said that this was wrong, but then on this other side that nobody knew about, I was really enjoying this stuff, and I knew that I couldn't, or I felt like I couldn't bring that to the light because I knew that it was I was being told that it was wrong, and so I really started to get into that mindset of having to play almost like a double agent, so to speak, of like, when I'm in the darkness and when I'm alone, this side of me just continues to for some reason take over, but I can't let that side of me show to the people that actually know me, the people that care about me, the people that love me, and so it wasn't until April of that year when I really started to actually meet the Lord. I knew that I had been going down some really, really rough paths, had made some really horrible choices, and it wasn't until April 7th, 2018, when I was in a soccer game, and I was playing goalkeeper, and I had been kicked in the game, had a traumatic brain injury, and that really, and I, by all accounts, was not exactly supposed to make it through, or at least make it fully through mentally and cognitively. And so over the next 3 months, the Lord just kind of took me on a journey of showing me that this is not the life that I have for you.
And how old were you at that point?
I was 12.
12.
Yes, ma'am. Let me correct myself. It was actually about 4 or 5 months, because it curved into the summer, but the Lord just really took me on a journey of just showing me that this really was a personal faith, that the Lord actually cared about me, because in the season of 7th grade I really genuinely thought that there was no way that the Lord wanted anything to do with me. I felt like I was too messed up, too dirty, and that like if it may work out for some people, it may work out for the people that actually have kept on going to church and like the people that you see in churches. But I really thought that I was over here and he was over here, and there just wasn't any like paths in between. And so after my brain injury, I really started to see like he had to keep me alive for something, because there's no way that all just happened by chance. And so just by the grace of the Lord, over the next few months, I just really felt like I was being taken on a journey of like, I have bigger plans for you, and I want to use you if you will let me. And I think that was another thing, is that like it was gentle, this angry and hateful and wrathful God that I kind of imagined I would see at the end of my sin, whenever that would be, or at the end of whatever. It wasn't that. It was a gentle and a loving Father that said, I see all that you have done, and I know the depths of your darkness even more than you do, and yet I want to bring light to it and every single bit of it, and I want to use it. And so, Yeah,
that's so good. And, I think there's so many people out there that are a lot older than what you were that may be even in that dark place today and living two lives like you explained. I've seen it myself, where, people are one way in the dark. Absolutely. Where nobody else is watching. And then when they come out and they're out in public, they're another way, completely opposite. And that's an internal struggle, and that's an internal tug of war. And for you to have come to that realization so early, I mean, that's a huge blessing just in itself, that you didn't have to fight that fight for years and years and years. And so God's merciful that way.
Absolutely.
And, I think sometimes, like, I know God does have a good plan for your life. And it might have been that the brain injury is what it had to happen for you to come to that realization, that what you were doing, what you were delving in is completely outside of God's plan for your life. And now, that was the moment at which my friend Sissy had reached out to me and was like, "Please pray, because her daughter is your stepsister."
Yes.
And she was like, "You've got to pray for Haley's brother." And so then it was years later before I connected the dots with that. But when you, what were there moments during the time that you had the brain injury and you came out, like, were there God moments during that time that you can remember?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the moments, so with any kind of neurological or cognitive impairment, there was a lot of emotions. A lot of my siblings and my family would kind of describe it where, like, I would almost just kind of, you could almost just kind of see, like, a little bit of a emotional, like, kind of darkness kind of wash over me at different points, so to speak, where I would go from laughing, cutting up with my family, being perfectly fine, and then just this terror of anxiety would just wash over me. And I don't know, I mean, it would just be rooted in different things, rooted in my return to school, how I was going to be, if I was going to actually fully recover cognitively, all these different things. And I mean, I remember weeping in the hospital, just about and I honestly couldn't even explain to you the true reason why. But it wasn't, there was one night where I remember talking with my family about some of the things that I was experiencing, and it just really kind of came to me of, like, the realization that he was there with me. Yes, he was there for the spiritual side of it, but he was also there for the physical side of it. That, like, I had this promise, I had this gift of grace that I knew that everything was going to be okay, but he was also going to be with me in the moments when it wasn't okay. And when your spirit doesn't seem to settle, it was just a really beautiful gift to be able to know that, like, we have a God who makes light in the midst of darkness, and doesn't just kind of wait till the end of it. And he chooses to work in those moments. Those are the times that he does choose to go to work. And even coming back from the hospital, returning to school, even when some of the same habits and temptations started to come back, just his beautiful presence really did. It really just started to show itself. The way I actually kind of rededicated my faith and really started, like, the moment that I really believe started back my faith journey was actually that summer at a youth camp. And they had done an altar call. It was very much kind of, so to speak, your typical youth camp, where, like, very high emotions, very high energy. And the first night and the last night were usually kind of the more, like, jam-packed nights of excitement, a little bit of exhaustion, but also just a lot of emotion. And I remember that night they did an altar call of just anybody that wanted to, that felt like their relationship with the Lord needed either amending or that they didn't have a relationship with the Lord, period. And I remember I was like, oh, I mean, I've already done that. That's fine. I mean, I kind of veered off, but that's not me. And I couldn't explain it, but I genuinely felt like somebody came up behind me and just pushed me towards the stage. And that was when I truly met the Lord as, like, you are my Father, you are my Lord, and you are my Savior. Like, that was just a really beautiful gift that it wasn't just, okay, we're going to forget about the past couple of months and all the mistakes that I made, but it's actually, I'm going to use all of that in redemption and in restoration. And that was a really, really powerful moment. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I love that how God knows exactly what we need, and He's right there nudging us towards it, especially when we're not making that effort, to move towards Him. He's like, come on. He's wooing us, and sometimes giving us that gentle nudge in the back that, yes, this is for you, because sometimes for whatever reason, we don't act on that, even if we feel a little bit. But I'm glad that He nudged your back and got you moving in the right direction. Was it hard? I know you said that the temptations were there. Did you have to kind of separate yourself from the people that were the influence on you?
So that was kind of interesting because the connections and the groups that I had been involved in were actually pretty heavily focused in a sport that I was involved in, and so that was honestly kind of the Lord's providence, in that I was put out of sports for a year, and so it really did kind of, and also I couldn't do any sports or contact for anything, and so even that summer looked really different. As somebody who grew up going to camps, I loved camps. It was just different, and there was a lot of moments where when there would be a change, there would be something that just, like I said, looked different, and it was so kind of the Lord that it was in those moments that I was able to deepen my relationship with Him, of that He is with me even when I'm not able to be with other people, and that those moments really did kind of bring about the peace and the quietness and the stillness that I think that our Father truly does enjoy to be able to speak into when there aren't any other voices around. So
that's true. So very true. And He does kind of, shield us and help us to sever those ties sometimes. Now, were you able to get back into sports?
Yes. So that summer passed, the fall passed, and then I believe it was January of the following year that I went to my neurosurgeon's consult. I had an MRI done, and they gave me the all clear. Probably the most terrifying part of it was for my family, because the next sport up that I was involved in was soccer again. And so that was probably a little terrifying for them. But yes, I was able to enjoy sports all throughout high school, and it's been such a blessing. So
good. Yeah, and that took courage on your part too, because I can imagine there was a little tinge of fear and anxiety around getting back on the field. But I think also when you realize, like, God's protecting me, and no matter what happens, He's going to take care of me. Absolutely. And so you can rest in Him even when it's a little unsure. But I think there's a life lesson in that too. When you're knocked down, you get back up. And no matter what it might look like, realizing, like, God's got you and He'll make a way. And so there's a huge life lesson in getting back up. And because a lot of times on our journey, when we stumble, when we make mistakes, when we go backwards a little bit, we tend to think, well, all is lost. Well, it's not. You just get back up and you try again. And so I love that that's part of your story.
Yeah, that was, and I really am grateful for that, especially being able to return to sports, especially just having the perspective. I think God graciously uses all things for multiple different facets, and I think one of my favorite ways that He has used my brain injury really is just the perspective of injury, and being able to, I feel like, especially just somebody that grew up playing football and kind of getting all amped up before games and stuff like that, you can almost feel like you're going to tackle the world. But the perspective of the person that goes from that moment of excitement and being amped up and just having fun playing to being able to realize, like, how weak you truly are, and how helpless you truly are, in the face of something like an injury, but also just spiritually. And so I think that perspective was really such a blessing, especially just growing up or continuing to play sports. I just remember like my heart would just break for people who dealt with injuries after that, and also just people that I had seen in the hospital when I was going through that. It really just kind of I don't know, just really I am so grateful that we have a God that feels and bears our burdens with us. And I feel like that perspective that he gave me allows me to be able to bear burdens with other people even better. And I feel like that's just such a big blessing that he would give me the gift of being able to bear burdens with his children that are going through some of their hardest times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. It is. You learn that compassion, and God gives you that gift of helping people in the same place as you were.
Absolutely.
And so that is an incredible gift. Well, talk about, I know, so when you were a senior in high school, I was very impressed with your academics, just how well-rounded of a student you were. And then, so share with us, like, what that journey has been like after high school. Like, what have you experienced in college? Where are you going to college, and what are you studying? So I guess let's start with where are you going to college, and what are you studying?
So I am currently at Berry College. I'm a double major of biology and theology. So yes, ma'am.
Okay, love that. And then what did the transition look like going off to college, not being at home? Has there been any challenges you've had to overcome in that move?
So that is actually something that's been yet another blessing in the midst of some hard times. Is that I'm actually a transfer student. I transferred to Berry after my freshman year. I started out at Georgia Tech. And just kind of went through some really hard seasons there, some very strong spells of loneliness, and just some kind of coping mechanisms that brought up some unfortunate choices in friends, and also just in my spiritual life of kind of not prioritizing the Lord as much, and kind of very much kind of getting into a sulking mindset. And that kind of stemmed a lot from so through my brain injury, at that same camp actually, I had kind of discerned that what I felt like was a call, and especially my senior year, when it kind of finally came into fruition, I felt like I had discerned a call into medical missions, and going to be a doctor, and being able to help the patients like me who. And be there for the patients and also the patient's family, in the same way that the clinicians and physicians, as well as the nurses that were there for my family, and to love them with a healer's love. And so when I had kind of gotten, by the grace of God, did experience some success in my grades and accolades there. And so when I kind of made it off to college and kind of got my first right hook of academics, so to speak, it definitely kind of put that into jeopardy, where I was like, Lord, I feel like with everything in me that this is what you're calling me to, and yet I feel like I'm meeting nothing but brick walls. And that's why I am so grateful to be at Berry, is because it truly has been yet another act of redemption, and a restoration of hope from the Lord, and just a restoration of trust and confidence that he will bring about his plans. Like when he says go, he means go, even if it's in the midst of a lot of question marks, because he's going to make sense of it all. Because at the end of the day, I don't believe that it's within our God's character to not act on behalf of his children. So,
yeah, I believe that too. He's always gonna, be instrumental in your life and guiding you, and we don't always see the big picture. Sometimes we don't even understand the moves he's allowing us to make in our life and things to come to us, but then when you can go back and look, you can see like, oh, I see what you did there, and he ties all of that together. So talk about, I know you said one of the things was, the loneliness and getting into the wrong crowd. Talk about that a little bit, like what kind of helped you realize that, and then what decisions did you make to kind of overcome that?
So it was actually really funny because I kept a journal that my freshman fall and kind of fell off after a few weeks, but I was kind of I kind of have seen it before, and I've always kind of avoided it because I'm like, I don't want to go back to that. But I was like, no, let me read through this, and because in all honesty, when I look back on it now, I just kind of see nothing but kind of my own personal flaws or failures in the sustaining of my faith, and also just the priority I placed on my faith in that year. And so reading back through it and seeing the struggle, so to speak, that it wasn't just like I went off to college and it was just everything hit and I was like, all right, sorry, Lord, I gotta see you later. But seeing the struggle was truly such a blessing, because I am grateful that we have a God that does see our struggle, even when we feel like we're not crossing our T's and dotting our I's, so to speak. Like just the heart to be able to be with him, and I'm grateful for that. So, but really, after my first semester, it was very clear that something needed to change. Like I was driving home, and I was like, this, either I'm not going to make it through college, or I've got to change something. And so coming back this second semester, and there was those same struggles showed up right at my door, starting off in the second semester as well, and still made plenty of poor choices my second semester as well. But just being able to actually go on that journey with him, and actually see that he is the one that is the only one that's going to sustain me through that. I feel like I maybe had a little bit of unconscious pride with the blessings that he gave me in high school, and the success that he had given me in high school and academics. I probably went in with my head a little too big, thinking that I could probably handle it on my own a little bit better than I could. But also just, I think whenever you're put into a tough situation, our sinful nature is to just revert back to kind of our same coping mechanism, so to speak. So to see him working in and through me, and also be able to bring healing to that, that, hey, once again, that's not my plan for you. Like, I know that this is tough, but we will get through this. So, yeah.
Yeah, and, he does. He'll nudge you, like I said before, and he'll give you little glimpses of light, and he'll tug at your spirit. And he does bring you, he will pursue you, and really, and give you that grace that you need to come back in alignment with what his plan is for your life. When you decided to go to Berry, what did that look like, and did you immediately feel like a sense of relief?
So it was definitely a summer of discernment. I had come back home. So my sister graduated from Berry, and she was actually one of the more vocal proponents of me coming to Berry, even in my senior year, originally. Yeah, she just graduated, and I had just finished up my freshman year, and I was like, okay, I was just getting to a point where I was like, okay, I think that we can still do this for 3 more years. Like, the Lord got me through. I think we can still do this. And through different events and different interactions with my professors at Georgia Tech, and also just some things that had happened with my grades, it kind of all resurfaced of like, I don't know what's going on, but I don't think I could do this anymore. And I remember being able to go up to my sister's graduation, And just seeing, I don't know what it was, but just going around campus, it just had a kind of like a splendor about it, and just beauty about it. I mean, Berry College has always had a beautiful campus, but it just kind of always never felt like home, until I was visiting my sister again a few weeks after she had graduated, and it was just, we were driving around campus, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but there's something different about this place that I've never seen before. And I mean, even to the day, and there was, like I said, there was a lot of discernment, a lot of long conversations with family about my transfer, but even to the day that I had finally made the final decision to withdraw from Georgia Tech, I had just submitted the form, and I was applying that semester to be an RA, and Georgia Tech had a really great RA program. Basically, I would be going to college for free with all that they would be paying for, and I had been waitlisted until the day that I submitted my withdrawal form. I got an email, and it was like, hey, we have an opening if you would like it. And I had already withdrawn, so like there wasn't much going back, but I mean I really truly just in that moment, like I set down my phone and I just started praying, and I was like, Lord, I don't know what you're gonna do, but please just do please just do a work. And I mean, even to the day before Berry classes started, I mean, I remember once again, just I'd gotten, so I didn't realize it, but under the surface, I just had a lot of built up stress and anxiety about starting yet another college year. And I just remember so desperately crying out to the Lord, like, please, I don't care what it looks like, just please let it not look like anything like what it's been. And I mean, by the grace of God, he heard every word, and it's truly been such a blessing. Yeah, he surrounded me with an amazing, loving community, friends that I could never begin to describe how much they bless my life daily. So yeah, and also just opportunities.
Yeah, that's good. And, you know, it's so important that you get around those like-minded people to really just encourage you in the faith, to help push you along on your journey. Where have you been able to share your story to help somebody else or encourage somebody else?
So I was actually just talking with a friend about this the other day, where I really do, like, my heart really does go out to college freshmen. I remember being told my senior year, you just kind of get tossed into the dumpster fire that is freshman year, and you don't really understand what that means until you go through it. And I'm not at all trying to say, like, woe is me, or it's, but because the Lord is gracious and is sovereign over all things. There are plenty more hard things to get through in life, but at the same time, it was a hard season. And so really just once again, just that perspective that the Lord kind of gave me has really allowed me to have kind of empathy for the freshmen. I even so much this year of allowing me the blessing of being able to co-lead a Bible study that is largely made up of freshmen, and being able to just kind of bear burdens with them, pray for them. It really is just such a blessing. To just be able to love on them and see them in the ways that I wanted to be seen, and honestly was seen, and see them in the way that the Lord saw me in my freshman year, even when it felt like he didn't, even when it felt like he was even though I felt like he was being silent, or felt like, like we were going dark on each other again. Just being able to see others in that same way and love them, and also just be able to be a vessel for them has truly been such a blessing. So yeah,
that's awesome. How many are in your group?
About 7.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good. What about where are you still studying medicine and medical missions? So you're theology and biology, right? Now, like, where do you see that taking you? Are you thinking stateside? Are you thinking somewhere else? Do you have a plan there?
So I'm actually starting to prep. I've started this winter break prepping for my MCAT for med school. I'll be applying this summer. And definitely the end goal is overseas. Not entirely sure where yet. I had the amazing blessing of being able to go to Ghana this past summer on a medical mission trip, and we were just kind of able to shadow throughout the hospital. I do feel like it's actually I always kind of chuckle with myself about it whenever I'm talking about the path or testimony that the Lord has given me. But I do have a deep fascination for neurosurgery, and so I'm praying about it. Definitely still discerning, but I think that that's where He has me. And so being able to shadow, I've actually had the blessing of being able to shadow with a neurosurgeon in Rome, and so just being able to see it from this side of things, and being able to see and sit with patients, and even just kind of silently pray for them. And just interact with them in the same way that, once again, doctors, physicians, and nurses interacted with me and my family when we were going through very similar times of fear, anxiety, worry, questions, and also just pain. The amazing blessing of being able to truly be a vessel for the Lord is a gift that I could truly never describe. But you know it when you feel it, because it truly is nothing like anything else. So.
Yeah. Now, do you have a mission trip planned for this summer as well?
Not as of right now.
Okay.
Just with everything with the applications, and I'll take my MCAT in May, and so just with studying with that, and also might be taking some classes this summer.
Okay.
And so just with everything kind of getting prepped for graduation and med school and moving on into med school, as of right now, no, but we were definitely still praying for an opportunity to arise if it's in the Lord's will.
Okay, good. So one more question. What if you could give a high school senior that's about to go into college some advice, what would your advice be?
So much.
Or what do you wish somebody had told you?
Really just, I think it kind of goes back to something that my youth pastor actually used to say a lot, was just the reminder of being a child. I think so much as humans, like we try to pretend like we know what we're doing, and I think naivety is so looked down upon in our society today. But something that he used to remind us a lot of is just that we are a child, and so be a child. Be able to know when you don't know, and be able to admit when you don't know something. But also, more than anything, just be fascinated by your God, that He would be willing to use you and work through you, and be able to write you into His plan, and love you and create you for a purpose, an eternal purpose at that. Is, I think, something that I wish that I would have done, and I'm grateful for the ways that I was able to do that, but still wish that I would have done more, is just being able to take a leap of faith with my Heavenly Father, and just know that I don't have to figure everything out, that there are going to be trials, there are going to be hard times, but something that I've very much, that the Lord, I feel like, has brought me to the realization of recently, is like I feel like as humans we kind of want this all-encompassing comfort, especially when we're making big decisions, or we want to provide that comfort for somebody when they're going through something, and we have such a weak and feeble and kind of like minute idea of what comfort looks like, whether it's either kind of witty quotes or something like that, or like a hand on the shoulder. But the only true comfort that ever comes is that everything's going to be all right. And thankfully, praise God, that's exactly what He gives. Is that it may not be all right in our way of thinking, but it's all going to be okay because it's in His hands. And just as we were talking about earlier, like I believe it is 100% within His nature to work things out for the good of those that are called according to His purpose and that love God. Yeah. And so I think that is really just the beauty of it, is being able to step out and knowing that it is going to be okay, even in the face of truly so many question marks and of I don't know how you're going to do this, Lord, but I know that you're working. So yeah, just being able to be okay with not being okay, but also know that it is going to be okay, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just trusting God in those moments and realizing that He loves you immensely. Absolutely. He's got a good plan for your life, and realizing that it's not always going to be easy, but it's worth the
Yeah,
journey
absolutely.
to stay with him. So, well, I appreciate your time today, Austin,
Yes,
Luke.
ma'am. Thank you.
And is there anything else that you want to share? Anything else burning on your heart?
Just thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and hope that everybody is edified by it. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, thank you, and we'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for joining us on Hope, Health, and Healing. I know that Luke's story has given you some encouragement and some hope, no matter where you find yourself today. Whether you find yourself on the path God has for you, or whether, like Luke, you're in a season of darkness, God wants a personal relationship with you. He wants to turn your darkness into light. He wants to turn your life around so that you can become who He has designed you to be. Join us next time on Hope, Health, and Healing when Luke's mom shares her story of what it looked like for her to walk through that hard time, not knowing what Luke's future would be like. If you haven't already subscribed to our podcast, do that now so that you're notified anytime we release a new episode. And be sure to like and comment on this episode and share it with your friends and family. See you next time on Hope, Health, and Healing.